You're watching Universal Groove. I'm Mike Noriega. I grew up in Northeast LA, Highland Park area. Lived out there for about 21 years. When I was really young, my aunt, she used to come over and she used to vacuum and vacuum fucking loud. Like the vacuums back then, it wasn't like nowadays. Nowadays, you hear a vacuum like, ugh. Nah, bro. Back in the 70s, like that's when I grew up in the 70s. The vacuum cleaners are like, and she fucking, I was a baby, and I would be like, what the fuck? Like she would make me cry when she would turn it on. So she used to get her music, and she was like, she was into like everything, man. A lot of people think like, oh well, was that your first introductions in soul music? And it really wasn't, man. Like to be honest with you, she listened to everything. She listened to like Rick James and like stuff that was on the radio, but she would also listen to Doors and different kinds of music. And her name was Juliana, and she used to turn the music really fucking loud because she was, I don't know if she was a vacuum freak, but she'd always be vacuuming. Like she liked the lineas and the carpet, and all the rooms had to be cleaned up. And then while she was already so deaf from having it so loud probably all her life, that she's just always blasting the music and cleaning the pad. And I think that's kind of what got me into like really interested in loud fucking music, like really loud. The louder the better. Even my wife to this day is like, why do you like the music so fucking loud? It's like, it's not that I like it loud, it's just that that's the way I hear it best. And she's like, well, you're gonna blow out your ears. I'm like, man, I'm almost fucking 50 years old. My ears are fine, I don't hear it. She's like, no, you're deaf, whatever. But to tell you the truth, man, I feel it a certain way. And then being around bands and being around music and all that, I feel a certain way. So when I was really young, she used to play all this music and she would leave. And my mom was big into music. Like my mom's a singer too. She was a real high soprano, and she always sang around me like all the time, always singing, constantly singing. Like we'd be at the store, be like, Mom, don't sing right now, man. There's like all kinds of people around, and you're embarrassing me. Like don't sing. And she was the one though that got me into the soul music, and she would play like I'm 50-50. My mom's Irish and my dad's Mexicano. So she's, believe it or not, she's the white person. My dad's the dark person, but they had different music tastes. She worked downtown LA at Greyhound. I don't know if you ever heard of Greyhound, the bus line. She was in the office there, and all the girls were all like, pretty much, they're black. They're sisters. And all the music they listened to was like Al Green, Teddy Pendergrass, like Bobby Womack, Stylistics. I remember being a little kid and listening to those records and her pounding them in my head, and she had 8 tracks. And I have a bunch of pictures when I was a little kid with 45s, holding 45s in my hands, and her like letting me put them on the turntable and being like, okay, well this is what I like. And I didn't know how to characterize it. I wasn't, stereotyping. I was just a little kid. I was only 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, hearing these songs. And my mom would invite all her friends over, and she's white, and she'd all our sisters coming over. Those were her best friends. Like that was her crowd. Those were the girls she worked with. Those were her homies. So, and then it was funny because people would come over and be like, hey man, like, yeah, back then I'm sure there was some prejudiced people. There's prejudiced people. It's just the way it is. Like, yeah, but my mom wasn't. My mom was not prejudiced. She's never been prejudiced, and I think that's why I'm not prejudiced. And for me and her, we were cool because that was us. It was that music, the soul music. I think that's what got me into soul music and R&B music, is because of her having all her homies at work at Greyhound. She worked there a long time, and her bringing her friends over, or her having those records. So I think that was the luck that I had, or the gift that I have for being the songwriter and singer that I am now, is because of those songs and that music that got me into it. I got my drum set originally I was 11 or 12, but you play around with it and you think you got like some skills or whatever. And I had a couple lessons, but I didn't really start getting into it till almost like junior high school, where I was getting serious. And here in LA, so there's like garage bands just about everywhere you go, and people playing instruments. You're running into dudes that play guitar, play drums, play whatever. harmonica. There was a dude across the street who was fucking annoying me, man, playing the harmonica all day. And it was like, I remember hearing it and being like, well, shit, man, I should just, even though I don't like the harmonica, invite his ass over and be like, you know, let's jam out, you know. And he'd hear me playing the drums, and I'd run into him on the streets and be like, you know, let's jam out sometime. And he was like, he goes, yeah, are you sure? He goes, I play, the guy actually says, I play guitar. I'm like, oh, all right, well, fuck, what are you doing playing that stupid harmonica, man? You know? So started listening and learning from him. And his name was Danny Henkin. And the dude, man, he ended up being like a really badass singer. He was a next door neighbor. And I remember going to his house like on the daily, like, hey, man, let's like make some music, like let's do something. He's like, I'm already in a band, man. Like I'm not trying to like, don't bother me, kid. He was older, you know. He was probably, I don't know, he's probably like 21 or 20, and I was like, 13, 14, trying to like, think I knew something. And he was big into Zeppelin. He was in this cover band called Atlas, and they were all into it, man. Like the sister was like, she looked like Jimmy Page, man. She even had Jimmy Page's guitar, and she was a badass guitar player. Her name was like Adriana or Andrea, something. I think it was Andrea. She was bad, man. She was like very, very emotional with her play, and she sounded a lot like Page, like their whole style. There was this guy Mike Calvillo. He lived in the neighborhood. Well, right there, man. He was like, all these guys were just showing up to the garage at his pad. And I thought he was a harmonica player because he was just like always on that. But really, it was just messing around in his bedroom. That was the one thing that he didn't know a lot about. He was more or less a singer, and they jammed out one day. I remember going over there and me, I had my drumsticks in my hand, I was twiddling them like, and everybody's like blazing and playing the music and everything. And there was this guy, Mike Calvillo. He was their main drummer. And I'll never forget that day. He didn't show up, and I was just sitting there, and they knew I was already like kind of rocking on with them once in a while, like just a little drum here, a little drum there, but never really like playing with them. And I was probably about 13ish at the very most. I was in 7th grade, so I was 12, 13, and these guys were like, most of them were 18, 19, 20 years old. And I'm just some little morito, like some little kid. And I remember the day it happened that Mike Calvillo, he didn't show up. And they're like, well, what's up? Like, you're a drummer, like, let's do it. And I'll be like, what? Like, are you crazy? Like, yeah, man, well, you kind of know the licks. And I remember, like, going like, hell yeah. Like, most people would be like, oh, no, like, I can't do it. But I was just like, this is my one chance to show what's up. Like, I could do this, And I'd already been listening to Danny's stuff, and I had like every Led Zeppelin album at that point, like that. I was idolizing those dudes, and I remember them playing, and starting. Just remember hearing that, like starting out with a whole lot of love, and remember just like hitting the drums like, and then just starting the song and just like just rocking that beat good. And they're just like, yeah, just keep rocking the beat, we don't care if you get the fills, and I was trying to get some of them, and they were just like, yeah. So it was just almost like I kind of took over, like not for Mike, but for like, there was a lot of days where I would just show up. They're like, hey, is Mike here? Like, nah, he's not coming, let's just do it. And I already knew the licks, I already knew the jams, like there'd be spots I couldn't do as good as Mike, but they would be like, it's all good, like just do it the way you do it. You don't have to do those like, super double kick stuff and massive root, because he was bad. Like Calvillo was a bad drummer. He passed away not that long ago, God rest his soul. He was such a cool dude. But I remember playing with them, and then Danny coming over to the house after, and like I don't know what he was on, but like I said, he might have been on some pills or whatever he was on, and he'd be on a good one, and the gig would be over, and or the practice, and I remember just trying to do the best I could, and him walking in my bedroom and looking around and going, what's this? And I'd have like, one jacked up old Council record player and another like, SL 1210 turntable Techniques. That's, like it was a cheap model, and a realistic mixer. I remember getting a realistic mixer and having that. and being like, man, you just like DJ stuff. And he's like, DJ stuff. I'd be like, yeah, man, check it out. And I'd start playing, and he could feel it. And then I knew I was okay, because I was first like, well, man, this guy's gonna think I'm a traitor because, you know, he's a rocker, he's a meddler, he's a crusher. And here I am playing, you know, like some disco tunes and some, you know, hip hop shit, you know, because disco was already like, it was popular, you know, like, you know, Plastic Doll and what was it, like, what's that jam, Spin It, man, Spin It. And I remember putting that shit on and him being like, I played Planet Rock, you know, and he was like he was just, and he was kind of like, oh yeah, the stuff on TV, and he just starts like breaking. He goes, this shit's cool, and he was just like, I was like, bro, don't start popping, homie, like you don't know what you're doing. But that's how it intertwined for me with being okay. I knew organic music was cool, and they weren't haters on my DJ stuff.